Welcome to Trade Secrets with Bupa, where we'll be uncovering some of the secrets about people moving as sole trader to a small business owner and how taking care of their health and well-being has helped them make that step. I'll be sharing a cup of tea and a chat with some industry guests from all different trades. This time, I'm joined by master carpenter, joiner, builder, Robin Clevett. Robin, it's great to have a sit down and chat with you.
Nice to see you.
You've built a strong reputation in your trade. How many years have you been on the tools now?
Do you know what? This is my 40th year. So I started when I was 16, because back then you was out of school straight into college, and I was forced to go into college because they said you weren't interested in exams and academia. And they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be a mechanic. And they sent me to college to do some entrance tests. And then I just found my way into the construction department. And that's how it all happened. I did love building stuff. I was always building camps and I was making things. And I ended up in the construction department, did a test, and they said, you're going to be a carpenter. And I was like, okay.
Just like that.
Just like that.
So what made you think then I want to go out on my own and run my own business?
So in my early 20s, I'd built up a bit of a reputation for cutting roofs.
Right.
And it was something I really enjoyed at college. And that sort of work, you always got to have someone with you, passing, holding. And putting these big structures together. So I realized then I needed to have someone. So I had an apprentice from the college. I went back to the college and said, have you got anyone really good who could work with me? And of course they were crying out for people like that.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden now there's two of us. There's me as a sole trader and I've got my apprentice. And that's how it really started. And from that, then we needed someone else. Then it got to a point where I actually needed a qualified carpenter as well. And I just put an advert in the paper, and that's how we used to get labor and just go, you'd put the carpenter wanted and you'd put the day rate down, it would be simple as that, and that would be it.
The good old days, back in the paper.
And so it just evolved really.
The work we do, it's not only mentally demanding, but it's pretty physically demanding as well. And I like to think, I take care of myself, I go to the gym, I work out, but when accidents happen, it'd be the stupidest thing. I'll pull my back out sweeping a roof. Literally picked up the broom, gone like that, and my back's gone. Now, the thing is, the first thing I'm thinking is just crack on.
Yeah.
And I'm in agony.
All the way through my career, I've had these issues, I fell off my mountain bike, right, on a Sunday. So I wasn't even at work, and I broke a rib. On the Monday, I had a purpose-made staircase arriving, which we'd been designing for a particular building. Now, I know I haven't got anyone I could delegate that job to, because I designed it, had it made, I know how it's got to go together. But what that meant was I had to go in. I could hardly breathe. I couldn't cough. I couldn't laugh because it was so painful. And I had to oversee the fitting of that staircase, including actually getting involved when it was getting frustrating. Like, no, you have to go to get this in here. Yeah. And that is the reality. And unfortunately, that is the building game, let alone the fact I will not be getting paid. And so I think the more, the older I've got, the more sensitive I've become to think, what can I do to make sure this, if it happens for me, or if it happens for my guys, what can we do to get this across the line? How can we get paid? And these things have become so important, because at the end of the day, the quicker we can get ourselves back to work, the better.
Well, what do you put into place then for having those days off? Because that is the stress.
Yeah. Well,
for us is that not being at work.
All right.
Cracking on. What can you put into place for you, and not only you, but
obviously, if you're lucky enough to build a bit of a buffer, even if you've got a week's money set aside, so if you need to take a day, so it's always worth sticking a little bit if you can. You put your tax away, you put and put a little bit away, just so you got a buffer. That's the most important thing. And the other thing about things is learn from other people's experiences. So my father-in-law died from cancer. He was a bricklayer. When cancer was diagnosed, he still carried on working, which is keep his mind off it and all the rest of it. And even during his early chemo, he carried on working. And it was not until that he did die that I was working in Clapham in South London. And I remember coming out of the job to get some lunch, and there was someone trying to sign up me for some sort of insurance, health insurance. And I bought it, and I literally took health insurance from that day forward. I never looked back, because I thought to myself, this happiness. It's not like I know someone this has happened to us. I've witnessed it. It's horrible. And so I think that you've got to also see other people's experiences and put yourself in their shoes. We're not immune to diseases, illnesses, injuries. And I think anything that you can do if you're growing a business to actually mitigate against that, or do you know what I mean? And I think it's invaluable.
I think that's a nice feeling as well as a business owner, running your own business, to have that, like you said, that buffer there to say, do you know what? If things do happen, it's inevitable. Things happen in life. If that does happen, you know that you can maybe, like you say, ring up, you can get an appointment, you can be seen quick. That's an awful lot off your mind to be able to do that, to know as well, that you've got that little bit of insurance there. If things happen, that, you're going to be able to carry on. So yeah, that is something that I would say is a huge part of running your own business, because if you're not there and you're having time off work, and the money's not coming in, that's a stress you really don't want.
Yeah, and it's always the wrong time if you're not feeling well,
it's always the wrong time, isn't it?
It's never a right time. And the other thing as well, if you want to look, we got a shortage of guys, right? And if you want to keep good guys, you've got to think outside the box. And if it means extending some sort of benefits to them, why don't we do it?
So finally, that next generation coming through, people out there maybe thinking about going out on their own, running their own business, what trade secret, bit of advice would you give to them?
I reckon always manage expectations, right? So I've learned that managing expectations, whether it's someone calling you saying, we would love you to come around and have a look at our roof, and you going, yeah, I'll come around tomorrow. If you can't come around tomorrow, don't agree to come around tomorrow. The other thing is as well, look after yourself and get rest.
Yeah.
Try to rest, because in our game, it's so physical that if you're not careful, you're going to burn out.
Robin, it's been fantastic sitting down, having a chat with you, having a good old catch up.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And you, Danny. Thank you, mate.
Cheers.